Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl, Season 1, I guess. So as we should all know, seeing we're heading into these last few episodes of the first season of Stargirl, there have been, quite a decent handful of mysteries going on and just in general being explored within the little town of Blue Valley, Nebraska. These of course stretching from the identities of villains and maybe even their children, the history of the JSA or the Justice Society of America, and really when you think about it, just the town of Blue Valley itself. It's a very mysterious town. But one of the bigger mysteries going on this season has of course been around the janitor that we would see at Blue Valley High, of course, who's called Justin. Now, of course, he wasn't showing up every episode to have like in-depth conversations with Courtney, Pat, or anything like that, any of the main cast, but he would feature in small bits here and there, and in some cases teasing a character who had much more to offer to the show than some would first suspect, with little lines and just, out of the ordinary dialogue that would make you go, hold on, okay, well, why did they say that? Now, in episode 7 of this season, otherwise entitled Shiv Part 1, we had the quite big reveal of Janitor Justin as someone else as he saved Stargirl or Courtney from a potential killer blow from Cindy Berman aka Shiv in that battle in the gymnasium. With the same scene also revealing that he recognized Pat Dugan as not just, hey there's Pat, but as Stripesy. Now, for those still in the dark, Janitor Justin is actually the character from DC Comics lore known as the Shining Knight. And episode 11, which is this week's episode, it comes out in a few days, is called Shining Knight. So it should have a decent amount of focus on the character, which sets him up for the final episodes of the season. And seeing that the episode is also written by Jeff Johns, we should get some interesting references to his past. Maybe not a full-on breakdown, but at least some references. But for this video, I thought I would actually do what I don't think the episode will do, and that's break his history down completely, which might allow you to catch any minor references that are brought up in the episode we get in a few days' time. But of course, throughout the video, let me know your various opinions. Are you excited to explore Shining Knight in the show? When did you realize that he was maybe not exactly Shining Knight, because you might not have known the stuff from the comics, but when did you know, okay, there's something interesting going on with this guy? Do you remember like the episode you picked up on that? Let me know all your various opinions and what you're looking forward to most with the character going forward. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, you found the video interesting, and just want to show your support for the Stargirl videos, why not drop a like on the video? Greatly appreciated. So Sir Justin, the Shining Knight, first appeared back in 1941 in Adventure Comics number 66. Now, Justin was the newest member of the Knights of the Round Table, who you might, be familiar with from the Camelot stuff, who had sworn to avenge Queen Guinevere's fallen cousin, Sir Fallon. Now, along the way, he freed Merlin the Wizard, who in return enchanted both his armor and the sword of Justin. Now his sword could now cut through anything, while his gallant white steed, or simply horse, called Victory, was given wings and invulnerability. So ended up being a pretty handy form of transportation as well as just a comrade. Now of course we've seen the references that have been pointed to in earlier episodes to Victory or Winged Victory with the calendar on his wall, as well as the hat which has the Pegasus on it. So there's a lot of references there already without just completely shoving it in your face, even though some would say it's being shoved in our face. Now, Sir Justin, along with the now Winged Victory, took on and defeated the ogre known as Blunderbore, who was responsible for the death of Sir Fallon, as I mentioned earlier. But in the aftermath, straight after, both were actually frozen for the foreseeable future. Now, it is here where we fast forward a bit and we go to the 1940s. We're cutting there, where both Justin and Winged Victory are found during an archaeological expedition, and well, they're now living it up in the 20th century. Now, it is here where we see him take the name of Justin Arthur as like a modern day name and bring his noble stance against crime to the present day. Now, Justin would then join and be one of the key members of the Seven Soldiers of Victory at its start, as well as in future iterations, but initially with other heroes like the Star-Spangled Kid and Stripesy, just like we saw in that photo from episode 9. But during the World War II era, he would also team up with other groups like the JSA and also the All-Star Squadron, which that group's already been name dropped in Stargirl as well. Now, during this World War II era, Justin actually had a romance and then a marriage with Danette Riley, otherwise known as the hero Firebrand, who could be brought up in the upcoming episode of Stargirl, because Firebrand was actually killed by, of all people, you might be getting my drift, yep, Dragon King. Now, it wasn't long after all of this that Justin disappeared after an adventure that scattered, the 7 soldiers of victory across time and space, which has been alluded to sort of because of that photo being very old. We might explore that maybe in season 2. However, even though it wasn't known, it was just believed that he had returned to Camelot, and that's where he was sort of shot out, if you want to call it. Which, of course, was the time he was in before being frozen in ice. However, in reality, though, he had remained in modern times and set himself with a task with tracking down Dragon King, which could be the reason we see him in Blue Valley and Stargirl. We'll have to wait and see how they represent it. Now, the first season of Stargirl, from what we've seen, is heavily adapted from the comic series Stars and Stripe, which was the first series that Jeff Johns wrote as a comic writer, and also the series that introduced Courtney Whitmore as a character in her early times as the new Star Spangled Kid, before officially becoming Stargirl once she was a part of the Justice Society of America. Now, in that series, a subplot happened which revolved around the janitor, known as Justin, who would appear every now and then, very similar to how he does in the show at certain stages early on in this series' run. Now, in that comic series, janitor Justin was eventually revealed to be Shining Knight, who was actually suffering from amnesia and saving Courtney in a battle with Shiv in a very similar way to which we saw in episode 7. But this actually leads into the final segment of this video, and it has to do specifically with his representation on the show and changes made or that will be made going forward, as well as the future of the character from this point, whether it's, the end of season 1 and stuff. But continuing on from that last point brought up, and that is his amnesia. Now, in the comic series, it's more of like a snap that sort of happens. It's a much slower burn on the show from what we've seen. Like, we've seen him sort of drift out, in and out, if you want to call it, from like, okay, well, he remembers this, but then he sort of doesn't remember it. Then he remembers it and he doesn't remember it. And we've sort of even seen that with like his mop changing into the cosmic staff. Wasn't a big thing in the comic. It's almost like just a switch, and then he saves Courtney, and then he's pretty much Shining Knight from that point on. On the show, they're doing it a different way, and I think it actually works better story-wise to do the way they're doing, and actually prefer the way they're doing it, but obviously a TV show allows you to explore it more. But yeah, we are just seeing a slower burn with like memories being gained, and we don't even know what's going to happen in the rest of this season. He might not fully remember. He just might be able to grasp onto certain things that allows him to help. But I have a feeling we're definitely going to have him remember the whole Dragon King situation, and I am really hoping they actually bring up Firebrand or Danette Riley, because that would give him some pure motivation, but that's for us to wait and find out. Now, one of the big changes, if you did read the comic, or even if you just looked up images from Stars and Stripe, and that's his suit. In the comic series, he shows up in his suit. Obviously, the only time we've seen the suit is in that photo from episode 9 with the black and white photo and stuff. And even then, it looked very old. It looked like something someone would wear in the 40s. It doesn't look very high tech. It doesn't look very modern. However, in the comics, in the modern times, he actually does get an upgraded suit, which could potentially happen, but it just matters whether the character is going to be there going forward, and we'll come back to that in a second. So he could wear his suit, maybe it's an upgraded one, but I think at this point we might just see him use the sword like we saw when he saved Courtney from Shiv. So I think that's pretty much his attire. It's the janitor costume and a sword. You know what? If he's good enough with a sword, that's all you need. So I don't think we're going to be getting the suit, but you know what? I wouldn't mind being surprised. One of the big changes is probably no winged victory. We have no evidence that they exist in the present day. The other option is like with all this, is that maybe winged victory is captured by Dragon King. So Dragon King has winged victory in one of his like little rooms or something, and there's just a big white horse in there. That's a potential. And then we could maybe see winged victory show up in the finale. The big thing is that it'd be expensive to do on a TV show, but it would be very cool to see Sir Justin, the Shining Knight, riding the gallant white steed known as Winged Victory and seeing that thing flying around. Who knows? We might get surprised and we might get to see it, but then we also might get some tragic news where maybe the horse died, which would be sad, but it could be expensive to do at the same time. But this brings up the final point, and it's also, I think, the relevant thing to bring up at the end, and that's Shining Knight going forward. Is Shining Knight in Season 2? Like, does Janitor Justin even stay in Blue Valley as we go into Season 2? I would say it's probably a flip of the coin. I'd maybe lean towards no, but there's still a possibility that he could stick around. And my big thing around this is like, if Dragon King is defeated by the end of Season 1, which will most likely be the case, I'm expecting some of the ISA members to stay around, but I think Dragon King as a character will be defeated for them, most likely, at least in my opinion. But if Dragon King is defeated, is Shining Knight's job done? Because in my opinion, I think If that's the reason he came there, that's the sole reason he was there, and it was to defeat Dragon King, and the dragon has now been slain, his job's done. He doesn't need to stick around. He can go do his own thing. And you know what actually be a very nice moment? If he defeats Dragon King with the JSA without any help from his gallant white steed or anything at that point, maybe he finds a horse and rides away on that white horse. You never know. Maybe it's a parting gift from Pat. Buys him a white horse or something like that. That'd be very cool. That'd be very cool and very moving. But I don't know. I'm unsure whether we'll see Shining Knight going forward into season 2, just because I think if the dragon is slain, then he'll move on. But that's for us to wait and find out. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it to talk about in regards to Shining Knight. Hopefully you found the video somewhat interesting and informative. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on the character, as well as any opinions on those last points I brought up in regards to his suit, and if he's actually going to be in season 2, anything like that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.